Okay, so we're going to move to modern-day China in a bit, as we've talked about a little. So, as you know, the Chinese government has stood by a policy of non-interference in the Middle East, but there's rising groups of terrorism, especially in China, in the Xinjiang region, as you know of, I'm sure. So you think China's going to have to rethink their terrorism policy at all?
Well, you have done a lot of work. That's great. You really studied a lot of depth. That's great. Chinese government always say we don't interfere other countries' affairs. That's their policy, very consistent for many, many years. Unless they were threatening us. So the reason we went to Vietnam or went to Korea is the Chinese say if the lips is really get cold, then your teeth is going to get cold. So they are attacked the neighbor and will come to us, so we have to protect ourselves. But they are very strong in terms of crackdown the Muslims in Xinjiang area.
Yeah.
They are very ruthlessly condemn them. Chinese government would not allow any group, any organization, and rise. So they always repress them or get rid of them before they even start. So your question is if they would get more involved with the Middle East?
Yeah, because of the threats.
I think they would probably do together with other countries because this terrorism seems like it's gaining their, spreading far now and fast and it did a lot of bad things. So you have to, but I'm not sure if they will. But they, at least within their country, they were very ruthlessly condemn them and get rid of them. Whether they will participate internationally, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough question. So, as you mentioned that there's a lot of Islamic extremists in the Xinjiang region, you mentioned in your book that your grandmother followed the Islamic religion. Do you follow the Islamic religion, and can you explain what it is like to be a Muslim in China?
Yeah, I was born into a Muslim family, but not religious. I was raised as an atheist, and I would take back, we believe the communism. So sometimes I joke, communism is like a religion because we completely worship it and believe it. So to me, I don't really practice Muslim religion. Never went to mosque in China, and only we maintain the custom, like we don't eat pork in our family. So that's it. And in China, there are 55 minorities, and 7 of them are Muslims. To me, and back then, it wasn't, actually it was pretty good to be a minority because government did give you some privilege. For example, we will get 10%, almost 8 to 10% salary, increased salary because you're Muslim. And they said that the beef is more expensive than pork. So they give you extra 4 yuan to help you out. So, and if you die, you don't have to cremate it. In China, in Shanghai, everyone had to, but Muslims can be buried. So there's some privilege for the minorities, and it wasn't really discriminated or looked down, actually to be a minority back then.
Yeah, so, as you know, the South China Sea is becoming one of the biggest issues in the world. It's not as talked about here in the U.S., but it is a big problem. Do you think the dispute between China and the United States could cause any long-lasting effects between the U.S.-China policy? Do you think that could cause any problems? And what does the Chinese community think about this issue?
I'm actually very worried about those conflicts. I think, seems like it's very intense. That none of us would step back. I don't know what's the intention, or it's a kind of a gameplay, or what, and it doesn't make sense to me. And the Chinese government was pretty aggressive, and they did things which would trigger, poke this conflict. So I talked to my friends and say, is it possible we actually would have a war between China and America? And most of my friends, we agreed probably at this moment none of the countries would really want to have more conflict. So they were kind of like testing, but at least they would control it, make it under control, so it's not going to have a war. But I do worry about that, and I don't know if that's Xi Jinping want to show that we are strong and we don't care, and we can protect ourselves, we can defend, and we don't, we're not afraid. I'm not sure if that's his intention, but it doesn't really make sense to me why they want to do all these kind of things at this moment.
Okay, so I have to ask this question. Donald Trump, he's leading in every poll in the United States for the Republican side of the field, and Donald Trump has called China's use of tariffs an unfair and unlawful practice. He has accused Beijing on manipulating its currency and has called for a 45% tariff on Chinese exports to the United States. What do you think the effects of China would be if Trump were elected, and what do the people of China think about Donald Trump? Are they afraid of him, or what?
This election is bizarre. I have never seen such an election. I personally feel Donald Trump is, so low. Okay. I feel he's not presidential at all. I think that if he was elected, and I feel embarrassed, honestly speaking. I feel like the way he attacked people, he doesn't really think. He bullied. Yes?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, no. No, we're fine. Yeah, we can hear you.
I was, I don't know. I'm going back to China in 2 weeks, so I will hear more. But so far, I've heard that people were like watching some farce. So people were laughing at us, including Chinese. Wow, you have this guy that's going to be a president of your country. I think back then, one time I was in China, I think it was Kerry and Bush. And my Chinese friends asked me, you mean that your America has, 300 million people, these are the best two you have? That's what they asked. So I think that they must be laughing hard, like to see how Donald Trump got it, was possible to be elected. To me, it's not about Donald Trump. He is a business person. He could be, anyone he wanted to be. But it scares me how many America followed him.
Yeah.
His standard was so low, and you can see, everyone can see, but they still followed him. That showed me that American people have a lot of anger. And that showed me that they are not happy about their life. They struggle too much, which is true. So they want any change they could get. I have a friend who's teaching at the community college. He told me, back then, I went to UC Berkeley. I was working at the gas station to support myself. Now I could not do the same thing for my son. I have to pay his tuition. Tuition is so high, my son could not work at the gas station to support himself. So a lot of people are struggling, that I can see, and that's why so many people follow him. We have to make some changes in this country. Otherwise, we are in deep trouble.
Yeah. So.
Well, I think that's a great place to stop, because I think that's, I mean, as you understood that Blake reads a lot about politics, he thinks a lot about politics, and I think that's a good takeaway from the book. We stressed what you said in the epilogue, the importance of a strong judicial system, but also this concept about social justice and sort of what is good for the common good.
That's the principle. I think that any government do most of the things for majority people. That's good government. Right. Otherwise, you have to question, have to change.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a very important takeaway, and I think that's one of the things that I find is valuable about reading the book. This is about the fourth or fifth year we've done it. We'll do it again next year. I look forward to having another Skype session with you. Blake's mom and father were very generous about paying for this call, but we have an auction, and the parents are very generous, so we can get another call for sure with you next year, probably somewhere in the spring, so I'll definitely contact you.
I really appreciate, Blake, your, think so much, and you want to take action. That's great. Young people don't always make the right decision, which is okay, but at least you have that enthusiasm. I think we needed that.
Yes, no, absolutely. I think that's one of Blake's strengths, is that he definitely, he's interested probably beyond his years. It's going to take a while for his peers to catch up with him. But anyways, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Julie. It's been a pleasure, and have a great day and a great trip. Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.